All right, chapter 7.
Do you know, are you just going to wing it?
Yep. This isn't hard stuff.
Can we Mad Libs?
No, we can't Mad Libs.
Are we ever going to Mad
If we were going to waste a day in here, we would waste a day studying and working, because I need that too.
Well, you can go study.
Yeah, no. All right. There's no days off. We're behind.
We're never going to do Mad Libs.
Now you're never going to do Mad Libs.
Ever again.
Okay, the allocation of resources is how do we produce it, what do we produce, who gets it when we produce it, right? Welfare economics studies how deciding these questions affects the economic well-being, the welfare of your populace. So don't think of welfare in this instance as giving to the poor, not that kind of welfare. This is welfare as in well-being, comfort of living, okay? So again, how you answer these questions, what do we produce, how do we produce it, who gets it once it's produced, has significant impact on the well-being, the welfare of your population, okay? That is important. We're going to look at multiple segments of our population, starting with the consumers, okay? Am I getting about to the end of where I had notes loaded on the website too? Okay, I will. Mental note, I will load more. Yes, Dylan? Yes, I did. Thank you for checking. Yes.
I think you had them up to like 10.
Okay, all right, so we're good through 3 weeks. And hopefully those of you who were gone have noticed the lesson plans on the board there that you are within a 3-week window of the next unit test. Why do you what? Have a quiz every chapter? Because you have a chapter every week.
Do your World Civ kids come in and be like...
They were whimpering that they have on average 4 quizzes a week. But the current events quiz isn't a quiz, not in the real world.
Seriously, I would take those quizzes right now.
Okay. So, willingness to pay in reference to a buyer is the total dollar price that a buyer will pay. So if you ever go to an auction, before you start bidding on something at the auction, you have to have your stop number, your ceiling in your head, so that you stop bidding before you get yourself into trouble. Thank you. Uh-oh, Michael. And he's even got the shirt on.
Oh, is it for Stuka?
Uh-huh. Okay. So here's a nice little shorthand for you. Willingness to pay, WTP. So how much you're willing to pay, we can take and equate to how much you value that good. Right? So if you choose not to show up at work, that tells your employer how much you value your job. If you choose not to show up at your Stuco meeting, that tells your sponsor how much you value that position.
I
You're
didn't
the
choose. I practiced this morning. Just go.
Okay.
It's okay.
All right. So here we have 4 buyers' willingness to pay for an iPod. Are there even iPods worth $300 now? Yeah. Notice this book is only 2 years old. This is 2012. Okay? All right. Could you make a demand curve from this information?
I can make a demand curve out of anything.
I can make a demand curve out of macaroni. Okay. If the price of an iPod is $200, who's going to buy one? And what's our quantity demanded? Our quantity demanded is 2. And who will be our buyers? Anthony and Flea. Okay. So Chad and John are left humming to themselves on the sidewalk, apparently. Okay. So when the price is 200, quantity demanded is 2. Okay. We take this willingness to buy and we do ourselves a whole complex chart, which we call a, 2 words, demand schedule. Yay! Demand curve is the actual curve on the graph. Okay. So nobody buys at $301. Flea will buy, etc., etc. You could all do this, yes? This is like a second grade word problem. Fill in the chart from the data provided. Okay? I've written assessments before.
I miss your World Civ assessments because they had to be for like non-honors too.
We changed that this summer. I got to write honors and regular World Civ assessments.
Why are you excited about that?
Because I'll finally be able to test my kids for what they know.
I literally came in last year on like the Christopher Columbus one, you know, where it had like the star. I just came in and took it, and I'm pretty sure I got like a 96 on it.
Okay, so we graph. This is about to blow your minds. Are you ready? This is where our curve stops being a curve. You have now kind of seen the end of curvy curves, straight line curves. You're pretty much over that now. You are into more advanced economics. Who's excited about that idea? Some of your curves are going to look like check marks almost. What? No. Oh, wrong. I'm going to climb my way to market domination. This is a lot of clicking. Okay. Yay.
Oh, I do. Why am I even writing this down?
What about the guy for 300? If it's at 125, can't you buy 2? Yeah.
Could, but how many ears do you have?
Well, that's how many headphones.
Can we just make this known that every other paper is upside down?
Yeah, maybe he wants an iPod for like the car.
That's how you printed it.
It's not like that.
You chose to print it instead of by the long edge binding you.
I just don't know.
So, here's our 4 steps, 1 step per buyer. If we were in a competitive market where we had 4 million buyers instead of 4 buyers, what would our curve look like? A lot of eensy weensy teeny tiny little steps, okay? And thus it would look very much like a smooth curve, okay? Oh! You take the very micro and make it bigger, but still micro, because you're only talking about one good.
So like on our quizzes, are we gonna have like?
You're not going to have to do this on a quiz. Again, showing you how you get to where you're then going to move on from. All right. So at any quantity, the height of the demand curve is the willingness to pay of the marginal buyer. The marginal buyer is the guy who is at the margin. Remember thinking at the margin? I'm not just going to give something up completely. I'm going to give up 10 minutes of something to devote that 10 minutes to something else, right? So this is the buyer who is right at the edge of, yeah, I'm not buying that now. Okay. I have $1.25, I'll buy a Pepsi, but at $1.30, I'm out. Okay. At $3.02, I'll fill up my car, but at $3.25, nope, I'll walk. Okay.
If only prices were 302.
I got gas this weekend. It was 302.
Really?
Yeah, it's like really cheap.
Okay. So here's everybody's willingness to pay. Are you with me? Could you determine someone's willingness to pay given A demand schedule like we just had? I would hope so. But I thought you'd also still be able to determine comparative advantage and absolute advantage. Yes, ma'am. Why does it what? Because we only have 4 buyers, and Flea will pay $300, but not $301. And Anthony will pay $250, but not $251. That's why it turns so sharply. There's no wiggle room for these guys. They've set their hard price and they're done.
Because there's no limits.
That right. Okay. Guys, this concept of consumer surplus is huge. It is tested heavily on the AP exam, and it is going to be with you in one form or another forever. Consumer surplus is the amount you're willing to pay minus what you actually end up paying. So Flea was willing to pay $300, but how much was an iPod going to cost? What was Flea's consumer surplus? Anthony was willing to pay $250. What's his consumer surplus? 50. 50. Okay? If you're hung up on, what do I have to memorize? Then here's an equation for you to memorize to determine consumer surplus. Willingness to pay minus the actual price that is paid.
It can be 0, right?
Yeah, it could be 0. It can't be a negative number. No, because you wouldn't have actually paid it. Now you can have a lack of consumer surplus, but what would we call that? Consumer shortage. No. Okay, so here the price is now $260. So Flea's consumer surplus is $40. Do we have any other consumer surplus? Okay. So they have no consumer surplus. So the total consumer surplus in this 4-man market for iPods is, you guys are so smart. So smart. I don't know what you were so worried about coming into this. All that whining and complaining, the
You
crying.
didn't even know what it was.
This is how quizzes and tests work.
Yes. You have to apply this, though. You have to take your understanding of this and apply it when it's not laid out step by step by step for you. Yes, Zach?
So does that apply to like everyday life? Say like you get something at a store and then they have like $10 off or something. Would that be like consumer surplus?
If you went in willing to buy, I don't know, what would have $10 off at the store? A pair of shoes. You went in to buy a pair of shoes. You go to, I don't know, the Foot Locker to buy a pair of shoes, and you clipped a coupon out of the paper, or you got a coupon on your Twitter and you show them on your phone. Okay, $10 off. If you were gonna buy those shoes anyway, you had $100 in your pocket. You're gonna go in and buy those $95 sneakers. Okay, you were willing to pay $95. So your consumer surplus would have been 0. You were willing to pay $95. Ceteris paribus. Okay? You're willing to pay $95 right now. Okay, did we start the recording? We started the recording. It is recording. Okay. Pause.
Right now.
I thought you were going to like yell at her for like interrupting you.
Okay.
They're in the middle of learning consumer surplus.
So we were here, and I was answering the coupon question. So if you were willing to pay $95 for those shoes, I don't care how much money you had in your pocket. If you had $200 in your pocket, you don't have $105 consumer surplus. It's what you're willing to pay. So I know these shoes are 95 bucks. I'm willing to pay the 95 bucks. I want them. They're going to make me jump higher, run faster, look better. Okay? So my consumer surplus is going to be 0. When I walk into the store, the app on my phone goes, ping, I see you're at the Foot Locker. Perhaps you'd be interested in this coupon. And I look at the coupon and it's $10 off. So now instantly I pay $85 for the shoes. I was willing to pay $95, so my consumer surplus is $10. Now, if I had already had the coupon before I made the decision to buy the shoes and I was factoring the coupon into my purchase price, the coupon does not create a consumer surplus.
So if the shoes were $105 and you were only going to pay $95, but you had the coupon, it would still be 0.
That's correct. Okay. So, yes, Chuck. All the time. You're going to find out. Let's finish mastering consumer surplus before you find out when you need to know it. But you need to know it all the time. Okay? Quit thinking ahead of me. All right. Now, how to graphically represent consumer surplus. That shaded area is our consumer surplus. So you have the willingness to pay point on the graph, and then you have the actual price on the graph, and the gap betwixt the two is your consumer surplus. Very good. Okay. So now price is $2.20. I know. Apple dropped their prices? What? Okay. So now we have Flea and Anthony both in a surplus position. So what is our consumer surplus? For Flea, our consumer surplus is 80, and for Anthony, our consumer surplus is 30. So our total consumer surplus is 110.
So you just add those together.
It's too simple.
It's too simple. This can't be real. You can see them craning the other shoe up to be ready to drop. Well, it is too simple because when do you ever have a market of 4 people? We're going to take this and apply this to consumers, and then it's going to be a little harder. All right. So the total consumer surplus is the amount under the demand curve but above the price from 0 to whatever quantity it is that is actually sold. No, don't bring physics into this. Leave your displacement out of it.
Yeah, what the heck?
Max. Displacement? It's displacement of money? Oh my gosh. You guys kill me.
Yeah, you kill us too.
No, that's just theft. All right, are we good?
How do you go from 0 to Q?
From 0 to whatever quantity is actually sold.
Oh, I just like.
They put Q on the speedometers now. All right. Now.
Quit driving now. Quit accelerating.
Now, we're done with our 4 buyers. You can forget about Flea. Though if you've ever known Flea, he's a pretty unforgettable guy. Now we're going to have all sorts of buyers and a smooth demand curve. Okay.
She's so weird.
Zach knew ahead of time we'd be talking about shoes.
Sorry, I have school spirit.
Here's our demand curve.
Take my Jordans too. Actually, Wonder Woman socks.
Yes, this is in thousands. So at 5,000 quantity, the marginal buyer, remember the buyer who's willing to pay that much but not $1 more. The willingness to pay is $50 for a pair of shoes at a quantity of 5,000 shoes. Okay? That does not mean, remember, that one buyer is going to buy 5,000 pairs of shoes. Remember, this is a summative sort of graph. We've taken a demand schedule of all of these buyers.
5,000 people are willing to buy shoes at $50.
Yes. Now, if the price is $30, no, $30. Price is $30. If the price is $30, what is our consumer surplus? $20 times 5,000 buyers.
But do you take the so 100?
Geometry.
That's a triangle, that's a square.
Consumer surplus is the area between price and the demand curve from 0 to Q. Yes. So the area of a triangle, anybody remember from geometry? 1/2 base times height. Yay! So the height of our triangle is? And the base of our triangle is? And so 1/2 base times height is? 225 is correct. Did you do that in your head?
It's just 15 times 15.
Oh, well, just 15 times 15. Who?
That's like time tape. It's easy. It's a square.
My timetable was only 12.
Yeah, my timetable stopped at 12.
I did 30,
I didn't even
I did
learn my
30
12, but I
times
still learned my
7.5 and that gave me 20.
Yeah, I know.
30 times 7.5. That's nice. Actually, that would be easier for me because 3 times 7 is 21.
Well, then you gotta
Then half of 30.
half of 30.
That would be easier for me to do in my head than 15 times 15. By far.
I think, I memorized 15. But if you know your timetable, it's really not that difficult.
I know my timetables, but they stop at 12. Why would I go? I don't have 3 hands. I went 2 beyond what I've got already when I learned 12. Supposed to know your perfect squares if you're taking math classes or living a math-like life. My math consists of balancing my checkbook.
Well, what if you need to know your purpose?
Why are you still using checks? That's the real
Yeah.
All right, are you with me here? This is not complex, correct?
I want to say yes, but I want
Okay, now, change in consumer surplus. Price went up to $40. You could be asked, what is the new consumer surplus or what is the change in consumer surplus? So now you have to calculate the new consumer surplus and subtract it from the previous consumer surplus. In addition to the geometry, you have to subtract. Now, there are actually 2 reasons for this decrease in consumer surplus. Any guesses? Anybody read the chapter? These folks did what? They got the heck out. They're gone. That's it. Price is up. I was willing to pay here. I'm not willing to pay there. Gone. So they just go away. Go away. Go away. And then this rectangle is simply a direct result of the change in price. It's the same quantity, right? So that rectangle is just the change in price. These people in the green are still buying. These people, they were buying at this price, but not at this price. The people in the triangle, the little blue triangle, were buying at 30, and so they were part of this surplus. But when we get to 40, they're not buying. They're gone.
The whole thing is like gone.
No. This triangle is gone. This is gone, but these people are still buying. This dollar amount of consumer surplus is gone because we're not paying 30 anymore. We're paying 40. So we lost that $10 per person consumer surplus when the price went up.
So it's less computer.
Right. You raise price, consumer surplus is going to be less.
Well, yeah, but
This part of the consumer surplus decreases because of the change in price. This part of the consumer surplus decreases because people left the market. It's not all because of the change in price. That's a good idea. Yes? What?
So what happens if their curve becomes like more left and
Then it just changes the math.
You were really good. That's
And you're in Chuck's camp now, thinking too far ahead. Okay. So what is the marginal buyer's willingness to pay at a quantity of 10? How do you get that?
go to 10 and go up.
You read the graph, right? Now, what's the consumer surplus at a price of 30? Bull. Here's your price of 30. What is consumer surplus? Oh, guys, how'd you already? We just did this. How do you forget it?
I didn't understand it the first time.
Tony says 150. I've heard 100. I've heard 0. Okay, Tony, come tell us how you get 150.
just find the area of the triangle above the price.
Find the area of the triangle above the price. And the height of the triangle is 10. And the base of the triangle is 10. And 1/2 base times height is 50.
Oh, I said your math, but I did 30.
So none of you were right. Good. Yes, Connor.
I totally follow that, but didn't we say earlier that consumer surplus was willingness to pay minus price? Like why?
That's an individual's consumer surplus. That was when we were, that's our definition for consumer surplus when we were on the stair step where we only had 4 buyers. Then we said, okay, we're done with those 4 buyers. We're going to look at the whole market. And so when you're talking about all buyers, consumer surplus is the 1/2 base times height area of the triangle thing. Michael.
couldn't we just do like what Connor just said and you times it by 5? That's how so
What? Times what by 5?
I was thinking the wrong quantity. I was thinking the wrong quantity. But you know how you said the one time when you read it, you do the price, subtract the 2 prices, and you times it by the quantity. Times it by like 5,000, and then that would get 50. Did you watch the whole thing? And the line.
Where are you getting 5?
The line came out at
You said 10 times 5. Where are you getting 5 to multiply it by?
Well, it's 10 times half.
oh, right.
He's got faulty logic going on. Leave your half out. He's got faulty logic. Yeah. No. No. The answer is no. You may not. Do it my way. All right. So now price falls to 20. So our base is 20. Our height is 20. 1/2 the height is times is. But what is the question asking?
The increase 150.
Answer the question that's asked. How much does it increase due to buyers entering the market? Where are our buyers who entered the market? We were here, right? We were here. And now we are, need another ruler. Now we are here, so we need to find the area of buyers entering the market. Where are the buyers entering the market included? In this triangle. So its base is 10 and its height is, so its area is 50. So consumer surplus increases 50 due to buyers entering the market. And how much due to buyers paying a lower price? We were here, now we're here. Our height is 10, our base is 10, so 100. So total consumer surplus goes up 150 due to $50 worth of buyers entering the market and $100 worth of the price going down. Treston.
Yes.
Dr. O requests your presence. Dr. O, no.
Existing buyers.
Let's check our answers. Boom, we were right. Yes? Price falls to 10, so our additional buyers are, yay, 50. Woo! And change due to the increase in price is 100.
Because it's the first triangle, right? No, it's just
Because it's the difference in price amongst people who are already in the market. Yeah. Yeah, side times side.
But then if you add those two together, that's the
Total consumer surplus increase. Consumer surplus increase due to change in price. And consumer surplus increase due to buyers entering the market. Or, if price increases, buyers leaving the market.
So you just add those together then.
That is correct. So there's 3 possible questions with every one of these, yes? I didn't ask you about the total, but yes. Yes. Consumer surplus is 200 total. Okay. Got it? Yes. What? On D? Uh-huh. So we were at 30, which was our original price. We were at a quantity of 10. Now we come down to 20. Keeping those original buyers on the initial 10 units, you just have to find that area. Base times height. 10 times 10. Okay. New concept.
You only have 5 minutes.
Nope. Cost is the seller side of this. Yeah, don't tell me process. You're going to go on to your next classes. You won't even take this home. You won't even think about it tonight.
You don't know that.
Michael Herndon, I have graded your work.
That's not my test. Not my test.
He's the one who spoke up. He called himself out.
That's true. I tried.
He did. So you've done the demand side of this. Now we're going to the seller side of this. Can anyone guess that we want consumer surplus and seller surplus? Uh-huh. All right. So the seller's cost is everything it takes to make what they make. Their time, the resources, the insurance, the taxes, the electricity, the water, the garbage collection, the paper from Office Depot, the toner from Xerox, the maintenance of the facility, everything.
Only you would know the brand of toner.
I could have said Minolta or Rico. Yeah. The HP doesn't do copier though. But no. Okay. All right. So there are 3 people mowing lawns. Jack, Janet, and Chrissy. Anybody thinks Chrissy looks pretty good when she's out mowing the lawn? I picture a halter top and short shorts.
I bet she gets paid the most.
I don't know. Does anybody recognize the triad of names here? Jack, Janet, and Chrissy? Anybody ever watch Nick at Night?
Yeah.
Three's Company?
I don't watch that. I watch Full House.
Oh. Okay. All right. Well,
That came out like 20
if
years ago.
your parents are trying to struggle their way through this class with you, they'll get Jack, Janet, and Chrissy, and we can assume that all 3 of them are competing to mow Mr. Roper's yard.
My mom is more of a friend.
Okay. So the seller will produce and sell the good and service only if the price they can sell it at exceeds their cost. Stop and think about that for a second. Actually focus, guys. Shell?
Yeah.
Think about this. As a seller, put yourself into those seller shoes. Would you continue to produce a good if you could not sell it for at least what it cost you to make it? Exactly. Exactly. Then we get into the realm of charity, right? And volunteerism. Jack, Janet, or Chrissy might volunteer to go mow an elderly neighbor's lawn, but they're not going to come mow my lawn when I'm perfectly able if I'm not willing to pay them what it costs them to do it. What? My body's broken. All right. So cost is a measure of willingness to sell. Remember, on the demand side, price is the measure of willingness to buy. Correct? Think about this, guys. I'm trying to draw parallels for you. On the demand side, price is your willingness to buy. On the production side, cost is your willingness to sell. So we're just doing the same thing, just on the other curve. Yes? Doable?
Yeah.
Okay. So we could make our stair-step curve. Well, those are difficult stairs to climb, yes. You'd have to be watching where you were going. I can imagine breaking your nose between quantity 2 and 3. Okay? Guys, for those of you who are struggling, you need to take this home and review it tonight. Everybody needs to take it home and review it. We push on tomorrow. Start the end of chapter problems.